Captain Lee Hyun sat in his command chair, watching the stars through the wide window of his space station. The Aurora's Watch was a small station, far from Earth and the busy colonies. It floated quietly in the dark space between star systems, listening for signals that might come from unknown places. Lee Hyun had been captain of this station for 3 years. Every day was the same. His crew of 12 people watched their screens and listened to the empty space around them. Sometimes they heard signals from human ships or colonies. Sometimes they heard the natural sounds that stars and planets make. But most of the time, they heard nothing at all. "Captain," called Lieutenant Choi Min-ho from his station. The young man was only 25 years old and had been on the station for 6 months. He was eager and worked hard, but sometimes he was too quick to act. "I'm getting something strange." Lee Hyun walked over to Min-ho's station. The screen showed waves of sound and light that looked different from anything they usually saw. "What is it?" "I don't know, sir. It's coming from outside our galaxy. Way outside. The signal is strong and clear, but it's not like anything in our books." Dr. Park Gina looked up from her desk across the room. She was the station's expert on languages and communication. She had studied every type of signal that humans had ever found. "Let me hear it," she said. Min-ho played the signal through the speakers. It was a series of beeps and tones that seemed to follow a pattern. It went on for several minutes, then stopped. Then it started again, exactly the same way. "It's repeating," said Park Gina. She came over to look at the data on Min-ho's screen. "This is not natural. Something made this signal. Something intelligent." Lee Hyun felt his heart beat faster. In all the years that humans had been exploring space, they had never found signs of other intelligent life. There were planets with simple animals and plants, but no aliens who could build machines or send signals through space. "Are you sure?" he asked. Park Gina nodded. "Look at this pattern. It starts with basic math. 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4. Then it moves to more complex ideas. This is definitely a greeting. Someone is trying to talk to us." The next few hours were busy. Park Gina worked to understand more of the signal. Lee Hyun sent a message to Earth telling them what they had found. The response from Admiral Kim Do-yeon came back quickly. "Do not respond. Do not send any signals back. Wait for orders." But the alien signal kept coming. And as Park Gina studied it more, she discovered amazing things. The signal contained detailed maps of stars and planets. It showed pictures of mathematical formulas that were far beyond human understanding. And near the end, there seemed to be an invitation. "They want to meet us," Park Gina told Lee Hyun. "The signal is asking us to respond. They want to know about us, and they want to share knowledge." Lieutenant Choi Min-ho was excited. He had dreamed of this moment since he was a child. First contact with aliens. His name would be in history books forever. "Captain, we should answer them. This is the most important moment in human history. We wait for orders from Earth," Lee Hyun said firmly. But he understood how Min-ho felt. This was incredible. After centuries of looking for other life in the universe, they had finally found it. The hours passed slowly. Park Gina continued to study the signal and found more amazing details. The aliens seemed to be very advanced. Their technology was far beyond anything humans had. But they also seemed peaceful. The signal contained no threats or warnings. It was simply an offer to communicate. "Captain," said Min-ho during the night shift, when most of the crew was sleeping. "What if they stop sending the signal? What if this is our only chance?" Lee Hyun was tired. He had been awake for 18 hours, too excited to sleep. Earth will send orders soon, we just have to wait. But Minho couldn't wait. When Lee Hyun went to get coffee, the young lieutenant made a decision that would change everything. He activated the station's main transmitter and began sending a response. The response contained everything. Minho sent the location of Earth and all the human colonies. He sent information about human technology and weapons. He sent population numbers and resource locations. He wanted to show the aliens that humans were friendly and advanced. "What have you done?" Lee Hyun shouted when he returned and saw what was happening. Minho looked confused. "I'm answering them, sir. This is first contact. We have to respond." "I told you to wait." Lee Hyun quickly shut off the transmitter, but it was too late. The signal had been sent. All of humanity's secrets were now flying through space toward the unknown aliens. Park Gina looked pale. "Hyun, we don't know anything about these beings. We don't know if they're really peaceful. Minho just told them everything about us." The next few hours were the longest of Lee Hyun's life. He sent urgent messages to Earth, explaining what had happened. He knew that Minho would face serious punishment, and he might too. But that wasn't what worried him most. Then the alien response came. It was not what they expected. There were no friendly greetings or offers of knowledge. Instead, the signal contained only numbers, cold, mathematical formulas that Park Gina translated with growing fear. "It's a countdown," she whispered. 37 days. They're coming. Here." More data came with the countdown, the location of the alien fleet, their speed, their direction. They were traveling faster than anything humans had ever built, and they were heading straight for human space. "How many ships?" Lee Hyun asked. Park Gina checked the data again. "Thousands, maybe tens of thousands, and they're big, much bigger than our largest warships." Lee Hyun felt sick. Lieutenant Choi Minho sat at his station, staring at the screen in shock. The young man finally understood what he had done. "Captain," said Park Gina quietly, "there's something else in their signal. It's faint, but I can make it out. It's a list." "What kind of list?" "Names of other species, other civilizations, and next to each name is a date." She paused, checking her translation again. "I think these are the dates when each species was destroyed." The room was silent except for the hum of the station's machines. Lee Hyun looked at the countdown on the screen. 36 days, 23 hours, 14 minutes. "Send another message to Earth," he said. "Tell Admiral Kim Do-hyun that humanity is about to face its greatest threat. Tell him we have 36 days to prepare for war." As the message flew toward Earth, Lee Hyun looked out at the stars again. Somewhere in that darkness, an alien fleet was coming to destroy everything humans had built, and it was all because of one signal and one terrible mistake. The emergency meeting on Earth began at dawn. President Yoon Soo-jin sat at the head of a long table surrounded by the most important military leaders and scientists in human space. The news from Aurora's watch had reached Earth 12 hours ago, and panic was already spreading through the colonies. Admiral Kim Do-hyun stood before a large screen showing the alien fleet's position. "The objects are moving at 90% light speed. Our best ships can only reach 60%. They will arrive in 35 days. General Bae Won-ho, head of Colonial Defense Forces, looked grim. "How many ships do we have that can fight?" 2. 130 combat vessels across all 17 star systems, Admiral Kim replied. "Most are patrol ships and light cruisers. We have only 12 heavy battleships." President Yoon Soo-jin felt the weight of the entire human race on her shoulders. "What about the aliens? How many ships are coming?" At least 10,000, said Dr. Lim Hae-won, the government's top expert on alien life. Possibly more. The energy signatures we're detecting are unlike anything we've ever seen. Each ship appears to be the size of our largest space stations. The room was quiet for a moment. Everyone understood the numbers. Humanity was facing an enemy that was larger, faster, and more advanced in every way. "What do we know about these aliens?" asked President Yoon. Dr. Lim Hae-won activated her tablet and shared data on the main screen. "We've been studying the signal they sent. The mathematical formulas they used are incredibly advanced. They understand physics in ways that are centuries, beyond our knowledge. But there's something else." She changed the display to show a list of star coordinates. "Remember the list of species names that Dr. Park Jina found? We've been checking those coordinates. Every single location shows signs of destroyed civilizations, planets that once had cities and technology, now empty or completely destroyed." General Bae Won-ho leaned forward. "How many civilizations?" 47 that we can identify. The destruction dates go back over 3,000 years. These aliens have been systematically destroying intelligent life across the galaxy. The weight of this information settled on everyone in the room. These were not peaceful explorers or traders. They were killers who had wiped out entire species. "Why?" asked President Yoon. "What do they want?" Dr. Lim Hae-won shook her head. "We don't know. The pattern suggests they seek out intelligent life and eliminate it completely. No survivors, no negotiations. They appear to view other species as threats that must be removed." Captain Nam Ji-hoon, the military's best pilot, spoke up. "What are our chances if we fight them directly?" Admiral Kim Do-hyun didn't hesitate. "Zero. Our weapons technology is primitive compared to theirs. Our ships are slower and smaller. In a direct battle, we would lose quickly." "Then we surrender?" asked someone from across the table. "There is no surrender," said Dr. Lim Hae-won. "Every species they encountered tried to surrender. None survived. These aliens don't take prisoners or make deals. They simply destroy everything." President Yoon Soo-jin stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the busy streets of New Seoul, filled with people who didn't yet know that their species might have only 35 days left to live. "What about evacuation?" she asked. "Can we move people to other galaxies?" "Not possible," said Admiral Kim. "We don't have enough ships, and there's nowhere to go. Our fastest colony ships would take hundreds of years to reach another galaxy. The aliens would catch up long before we escaped." The meeting continued for hours. Every option they discussed seemed hopeless. Fight and lose quickly, run and be caught, hide and be found. The aliens had thousands of years of experience hunting down and destroying other species. But then Dr. Park Jina, who had been brought from Aurora's watch, made an important observation. She had been studying the alien signals during the long trip to Earth. "There's something strange about their communication patterns," she said. "They're incredibly advanced, but their thinking seems very rigid. They follow exact procedures and patterns. When I sent them different types of test signals, they always responded in the same way." "What does that mean?" asked President Yoon. "It means they might not be good at adapting to unexpected situations. They've probably never faced an enemy that fought in ways they didn't understand." General Bae Won-ho was interested. "Are you saying we might be able to surprise them?" "Maybe. Every species they destroyed was probably more advanced than us, but they were also probably more predictable. They fought using standard military tactics and advanced technology." Captain Nam Ji-hoon understood immediately. "But humans don't always fight fair. We use tricks and desperate tactics. We do things that don't make sense to survive. Exactly, said Dr. Park Gina. The aliens expect logical, predictable responses. They've probably never faced an enemy stupid enough to ram their ships or desperate enough to use nuclear weapons as suicide bombs. President Yoon Soo-jin felt the first small hope she'd had all day. You're talking about fighting dirty. I'm talking about fighting human, said Captain Nam Ji-hoon with a grin. Admiral Kim Do-hyun was skeptical. Even if we could surprise them, once or twice they still outnumber us 50-1. And their ships are far more powerful. Then we don't fight them where they expect, said General Bae Won-ho, catching on to the idea. We don't meet them in open space with battle fleets. We hit them when and where they don't expect it. The conversation became more animated as the group began to develop ideas. Hit-and-run attacks, suicide missions, weapons that no advanced IDD civilization would consider using. Tactics that were desperate and dangerous, but might work against an enemy that expected civilized warfare. There's one more thing, said Dr. Park Gina. I've been analyzing their signal more carefully. They sent us the countdown, but they also sent detailed information about their fleet composition and arrival vector. Why would they do that? Dr. Lim Haewon thought about it. Maybe they always do. Maybe they've done this 47 times before, and it always works the same way. They announce their arrival, the target species panics or tries to fight conventionally, and then they destroy everything. It's psychological warfare, realized President Yoon. They want us to know we're doomed. They want us to give up before they arrive. But we're not going to give up, said Admiral Kim Do-hyun. Are we? President Yoon Soo-jin looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. They were scared, but they were also angry, and they were human. No, she said firmly. We're not giving up. We're going to build the largest fleet in human history. We're going to use every dirty trick we know, and we're going to show these aliens what happens when they threaten Earth. General Bae Won-ho smiled. What are your orders, Madam President? Total mobilization. Every shipyard, every factory, every mining station. We have 35 days to build an army. Captain Nam, I want you to train pilots in tactics no military academy ever taught. Dr. Lim, I want weapons that break every rule of civilized warfare. Admiral Kim, I want ships designed to hurt the enemy even when they're dying. She paused and looked out the window again. And I want a message sent to every human colony. Tell them what's coming. Tell them we're going to fight. And tell them that humanity has never surrendered to anyone. As the meeting ended and people rushed to begin their impossible tasks, President Yoon Soo-jin remained at the window. In 35 days, the largest alien fleet in galactic history would arrive at Earth. But they wouldn't find a cowering, defeated species waiting for destruction. They would find humans. And humans, she had learned today, were very dangerous when cornered. Engineer Song Minji had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes were red and her hands shook from too much coffee, but she couldn't stop working. In the shipyard orbiting Mars, she was designing humanity's salvation. The problem is time, she explained, to Admiral Kang Ji-woo, who had arrived to check on progress. Normal ship construction takes 2 years minimum. We have 32 days. What's your solution? Asked the Admiral. Song Minji activated a holographic display showing her revolutionary design. Modular construction. Instead of building complete ships, we build identical sections that snap together like building blocks. Hull sections, weapon sections, engine sections, crew sections. 1,000 factories can work on different parts simultaneously. Admiral Kang Ji-woo studied the design. The ships looked strange, like metal boxes connected together, but they were practical. How quickly can you build them? With every shipyard in human space working around the clock, we can complete one ship every 6 hours. That gives us about 120 ships. That's not enough, said the Admiral. We need more. There's another way, said Song Minji. She changed the display to show civilian ships. We retrofit everything that can fly. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, mining ships, even pleasure craft. We bolt weapons and armor onto anything with an engine. In the asteroid belt, engineer Oh Tae-hyun was working on humanity's secret weapon. The quantum disruptor torpedo was based on theoretical physics that had never been tested in combat. The idea is simple, he explained to his team of scientists. Advanced energy shields work by deflecting or absorbing incoming energy. But quantum disruptors don't carry energy. They carry disruption itself. His assistant, a young physicist, named Dr. Kim Young-ho, looked confused. I don't understand how that's supposed to work. Think of it this way, said Oh Tae-hyun. Imagine a perfect wall that can stop any attack. But what if you sent something that convinced the wall it didn't exist? The quantum disruptor makes the target's own shields collapse by disrupting the quantum fields that hold them together. Will it work? Oh Tae-hyun shrugged. We won't know until we test it on alien shields. But the theory is sound. Advanced technology often depends on complex quantum effects. Disrupt those effects, and even the most powerful weapons and defenses become useless. Captain Shin Yuna was testing humanity's first stealth destroyer in the space around Jupiter. The ship was small and ugly, covered in strange angular panels that bent light and energy around it. Stealth test number 47, she reported to her crew. Beginning approach to target. The test target was a military sensor station with the most advanced detection equipment humans had ever built. Captain Shin Yuna's ship crept closer. Using a combination of new technology and old tricks, distance to target, 1,000 kilometers, still undetected. 500 kilometers, still undetected. 100 kilometers, contact! The sensor station finally spotted them, but far too late. In a real battle, Captain Shin Yuna's ship could have destroyed the station before it knew it was under attack. The aliens have better sensors than us, she told Admiral Kang Ji-woo later. But their sensors are designed to detect advanced technology. Our stealth system works by making the ship look like space debris or natural objects. We're hiding by appearing primitive. Meanwhile, on every human world, the greatest mobilization in history was taking place. Factories that had made furniture were now making armor plating. Automobile plants were building spaceship engines. Even schools and hospitals were converted to produce weapons and supplies. Dr. Lim Hae-won coordinated the intelligence effort from Earth. Her teams were studying every detail of the alien fleet, looking for weaknesses. They're using formation patterns, she reported to the daily strategy meeting. Very precise, very organized. The ships maintain exact distances and follow predetermined paths. That's good for us, said General Bae Won-ho. Organized formations are predictable. We can plan attacks around their patterns. There's more, continued Dr. Lim Hae-won. We've detected communication signals between their ships. They seem to use a centralized command system. All orders come from the largest ships in the center of the formation. Admiral Kim Do-hyun was interested. So, if we could destroy their command ships, the rest of the fleet might lose coordination. They might not know how to adapt to unexpected situations. Captain Nam Ji-hoon was training pilots on Luna Base, but these weren't normal combat training exercises. He was teaching them tactics that no military manual had ever included. Rule 1, he told the gathered pilots. If your ship is damaged and going to die anyway, ram the biggest enemy ship you can find. Your sacrifice might save 100 other ships. Rule 2. There is no such thing as a fair fight. Use every dirty trick you can think of. Hide behind asteroids, pretend to surrender and then attack. Use civilian ships as decoys. Rule 3. The enemy expects us to be logical and predictable. Do the opposite. When they expect you to retreat, attack. When they expect you to attack, disappear. When they expect you to fight like soldiers, fight like angry humans defending their families. The pilots were nervous but determined. Many of them were young, barely out of flight school. Others were veterans who had never expected to fight for humanity's survival. "Sir," asked one young pilot, "what if we lose?" Captain Nam Ji-hoon looked out at Earth, visible through the base's windows. "Then we make sure they remember the fight. We make them pay such a high price that they think twice before attacking anyone else." As the days passed, the impossible began to happen. Humanity's fleet grew from 200 ships to 500, then 800. The modular construction system worked better than anyone had hoped. Ships that would normally take years to build were completed in days. But it wasn't just about numbers. Every ship was designed with one purpose: to hurt the enemy as much as possible before being destroyed. Some ships were basically flying bombs, designed to ram alien vessels and explode. Others carried experimental weapons that might or might not work. A few were equipped with the quantum disruptor torpedoes that Oh Tai-hyun had developed. Admiral Kang Ji-woo stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Defiance, watching as the fleet assembled in space around Earth. It was an incredible sight. Nearly 1,000 ships of all sizes and types, from massive battleships to converted cargo haulers, all armed and ready for war. "Is this enough?" asked President Yoon Soo-jin, who had come to see the fleet before it departed. "It has to be," replied Admiral Kim Do-yeon. "This is everything humanity can build in 30 days. Every ship, every weapon, every pilot we have." Song Minji, standing nearby, felt proud and terrified at the same time. "The ships will hold together," she said. "I've tested every design under combat conditions. They'll fight." "And the weapons?" asked the president. Oh Tae-hyun nodded confidently. "The quantum disruptors are ready. We have enough for every ship in the fleet. If the theory is correct, they'll punch through any shield the aliens have." Captain Shin Yuna added, "The stealth ships will get close enough to use them. I guarantee it." President Yoon Soo-jin looked out at the fleet one more time. "You know this is probably suicide," she said quietly. Admiral Kim Do-yeon smiled grimly. "Maybe, but humans have done stupider things and survived. And we've never had a better reason to fight." As the alien fleet drew closer to human space, long-range sensors revealed the true size of the threat. Not just thousands of ships, but tens of thousands. The alien armada was so large it created its own gravity fields as it moved through space. But humanity's response was ready. 1,000 ships carrying the hopes and fury of an entire species. They weren't the biggest fleet or the most advanced, but they were crewed by humans who refused to die quietly. Admiral Kim Do-hyun gave the order, and the fleet jumped to hyperspace. Destination: the edge of human territory, where they would intercept the aliens far from any populated worlds. As Earth disappeared behind them, the crews of 1,000 ships prepared for the greatest battle in galactic history. They carried with them the dreams of every human who had ever looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. Now they knew they weren't alone, and they were going to make sure the universe remembered humanity's answer to those who came in peace, and those who came to destroy. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, far from any inhabited worlds. Admiral Kim Do-yun stood on the bridge of the Eternal Defiance, watching as his ships took position. 1,000 vessels spread out in a formation that looked chaotic but was carefully planned. "Enemy fleet detected," reported the sensor officer. "Distance, 2 million kilometers and closing." Admiral Kim Do-yun had seen the long-range scans, but seeing the alien fleet with his own eyes was still shocking. The enemy ships were massive, each one the size of a small city. They moved in perfect formation, like a metal storm approaching through space. "How many?" he asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. 47,000 enemy vessels. "Sir, the smallest ones are bigger than our battleships." Captain Ryu Seonho, commanding the heavy assault carrier Iron Will, opened a communication channel. "Admiral, my fighters are ready. Should we launch?" "Not yet," replied Admiral Kim. "We wait for them to get closer." Dr. Kwon Jae-won, the scientist, assigned to the flagship, was monitoring alien communications. "Sir, they're broadcasting on multiple frequencies. It's not directed at us. They're talking to each other." "Can you understand it?" "Some of it. They're discussing formation adjustments and target priorities. But, sir, there's something strange. All their communications are going through the large ships in the center of their formation. The smaller ships aren't talking to each other directly. This confirmed Dr. Lim Haewon's theory. The aliens used centralized command. If the human fleet could reach those command ships, they might throw the entire enemy force into confusion. Lieutenant Han So-min, piloting a fighter from the Iron Will, watched the approaching alien fleet with a mixture of fear and excitement. She was 23 years old and had been flying for only 2 years. Today she would either make history or die trying. "All fighters, this is command," came Captain Ryu Seonho's voice over the radio. "Remember your training. Stay unpredictable. Make them guess what you're going to do next." The alien fleet slowed as it approached the human formation. For several minutes, both sides simply watched each other across the dark space. Then the aliens opened fire. The first volley was devastating. Beams of energy that could cut through planets struck the human fleet. 3 ships were destroyed instantly, simply vaporized by weapons beyond human understanding. "All ships! Evasive action," ordered Admiral Kim Do-hyun. "Execute Plan Chaos." Plan Chaos was exactly what it sounded like. Instead of maintaining formation and fighting like a traditional fleet, the human ships scattered in all directions. Some flew straight at the enemy, others hid behind asteroids. A few seemed to retreat, only to circle back and attack from unexpected angles. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their weapons were designed to fight organized fleets using predictable tactics. The random, desperate movements of the human ships confused their targeting systems. Commander Park Dong-woo led the stealth squadron in their approach to the alien command ships. His 12 vessels looked like floating scrap metal, but they carried humanity's most dangerous weapons. "Stealth ships, maintain course," he whispered into his radio. 60 kilometers to target. Still undetected." The alien sensors were incredibly advanced, but they were looking for threats, not junk. The stealth ships appeared on their screens as nothing more than space debris. 40 kilometers, 20, 10. "All ships, fire!" The quantum disruptor torpedoes launched simultaneously from all 12 stealth ships. The strange weapons moved slowly, compared to energy beams, but they were invisible to alien sensors until impact. The first torpedo struck the largest command ship, and something incredible happened. The massive vessel's shields, designed to stop any conventional weapon, simply disappeared. The ship's armor began to dissolve as its own defensive systems turned against it. "It works!" shouted Dr. Kwon Jae-won from the flagship. "The quantum disruptors are working!" But the aliens adapted quickly. Their remaining command ships began broadcasting new orders, and the enemy fleet started to respond to the unexpected human tactics. Captain Ryu Seonho saw the change immediately. "They're learning. All fighters, attack now before they figure us out completely!" Lieutenant Han Se-min dove her fighter into the alien formation, followed by 300 other small craft. The enemy point defense weapons fired at them, but the human pilots flew like madmen, spinning and rolling in patterns. That made no tactical sense. Why are they flying like that? Han So-min imagined the aliens asking themselves. The answer was simple. Because humans were crazy enough to try anything if it might work. She fired her missiles at an alien cruiser and watched them punch through its shields. The quantum disruptors had weakened the enemy's defenses enough for conventional weapons to cause damage. But the aliens were not helpless. Their weapons began finding targets and human ships started dying. The battle became a desperate, grinding fight where both sides traded destruction, blow for blow. Engineer Song Min-ji's modular ship design proved its worth when the destroyer New Hope lost its entire front section to alien fire. Instead of dying, the surviving sections detached and continued fighting as separate vessels. "Modular separation successful," reported the New Hope's captain. "We're still in the fight!" All across the battlefield, damaged human ships broke apart and rebuilt themselves using components from destroyed vessels. The aliens had never encountered self-repairing fleets before. Oh Tae-hyun's quantum disruptor torpedoes continued to prove effective, but humanity was running out of them. Each shot weakened the alien shields a little more, but there were so many enemy ships. "We need to concentrate fire," Admiral Kim Do-hyun realized. "All ships, target the command vessels. If we can destroy their coordination, we might have a chance." The human fleet began to focus its remaining weapons on the alien command ships. It was a desperate gamble that left other human vessels exposed to enemy fire. But it worked. One by one, the massive command ships were destroyed or disabled. Dr. Kwon Jae-won watched his instruments with growing excitement. "Sir, the enemy fleet is losing coordination. Ships are stopping to wait for orders that aren't coming." "Press the attack," ordered Admiral Kim. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships died by the dozens, but they took alien vessels with them. Every time a human ship was about to be destroyed, its crew would set course for the nearest enemy vessel and ram it at full speed. The aliens had superior technology, but they had never fought an enemy willing to sacrifice everything for victory. They had never faced pilots who would fly damaged ships directly into enemy weapons to clear a path for their friends. Lieutenant Han So-min's fighter was hit by alien fire and began spinning out of control. Her engines were dead and her weapons were offline. A normal pilot would have ejected and hoped for rescue. Instead, she aimed her dying fighter at an alien command ship and used her last maneuvering thrusters to adjust course. "For humanity!" she shouted as her fighter impacted the enemy vessel's bridge. Captain Shin Yuna led the surviving stealth ships in one final attack on the alien fleet's center. Half her ships had been destroyed, but the remaining vessels still carried quantum disruptor torpedoes. "This is our last chance," she told her crews. "Make it count." The stealth ships emerged from behind a destroyed alien cruiser and fired everything they had at the largest remaining command vessel. The quantum disruptors struck home, and the massive ship began to tear itself apart as its own systems failed. With their central command destroyed, the alien fleet finally began to retreat. The surviving enemy ships, no longer receiving coordinated orders, started to withdraw from the battle, but their withdrawal was not organized. Some ships fled immediately. Others continued fighting alone. A few seemed confused and simply stopped moving. Admiral Kim Do-hyun looked around the battlefield and saw the cost of victory. Of the 1,000 ships that had entered the battle, only 200 were still fighting. The space around them was filled with the wreckage of both fleets. "Status report," he called. "Enemy fleet is in full retreat," reported the sensor officer. "We've destroyed or disabled approximately 15,000 enemy vessels." Dr. Kwon Jae-won was studying the alien wreckage with his instruments. "Sir, I'm detecting massive amounts of advanced technology in the debris. If we can salvage even a small portion of it, we could learn things that would advance human technology by centuries," Admiral Kim finished. Captain Ryu Seonho's voice came over the radio from his damaged carrier. "Admiral, should we pursue the retreating aliens?" Admiral Kim Do-hyun looked at his own ship's damage reports. The Eternal Defiance was barely holding together. Most of his fleet was in similar condition. "Negative. We've done what we came to do. The alien fleet is broken. We've saved Earth and the colonies." But even as the immediate threat retreated, Admiral Kim knew this was not the end. The aliens had lost one fleet, but they had been destroying civilizations for thousands of years. They would have more ships, more weapons, more technology. "Set course for Earth," he ordered. "We have work to do." As the battered human fleet began its journey home, they carried with them not just the satisfaction of victory, but pieces of alien technology that would change everything. The battle was won, but the war for humanity's future was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the Great Battle, and the solar system looked very different. Where once there had been simple mining stations and research outposts, massive shipyards now orbited every planet. The alien technology captured from the battlefield had changed everything. Captain Jang Kyumin stood on the bridge of the new flagship Prometheus Dawn, watching construction crews put the finishing touches on humanity's latest fleet. The ships were beautiful and terrible, combining human ingenuity with alien technology in ways their original creators had never imagined. "Fleet status report," he requested. 87,000 vessels ready for deployment, sir," replied his operations officer. "All equipped with integrated quantum disruptor weapons and enhanced stealth systems." Dr. C.O. Yeren, now humanity's leading expert on alien archaeology, had spent those 5 years studying captured alien records. What she found had shocked everyone. The aliens call themselves the Purifiers, she had reported to the Global Defense Council. But they weren't always killers. 3,000 years ago, they were victims themselves. The records told a tragic story. The Purifiers had once been a peaceful species, much like humans. They had developed space travel and begun exploring their galaxy. Then they encountered something that nearly destroyed them completely. They were attacked by an even older alien race, Dr. Seo Yeren continued. Something so dangerous that the Purifiers had to become monsters themselves to survive. They developed their extermination protocol as a defense mechanism. What happened to this older race? President Yoon Soo-jin had asked. The Purifiers destroyed them completely, but by then, the habit of killing other species had become their defining characteristic. They couldn't stop. This knowledge didn't make the Purifiers any less dangerous, but it helped humanity understand what they were fighting. The aliens weren't evil by nature. They were victims of an ancient fear that had consumed their entire civilization. Captain Lee Hyun, recovered from his injuries and now commanding the exploration fleet, had made another disturbing discovery. The Purifiers had not sent just one fleet to human space. They had dozens of fortress worlds and production facilities scattered throughout the galaxy. The fleet that attacked us was just one of many, he reported during a strategy meeting. Our long-range scouts have identified at least 30 Purifier strongholds. Each one is protected by thousands of ships. Admiral Lee Sun-woo, who had taken command of humanity's expansion forces, studied the star maps. Then we hunt them down. All of them. President Yoon Soo-jin, still in office and now leading a much more powerful human civilization, had authorized Operation Prometheus. Humanity would not simply defend itself anymore. They would actively seek out and destroy every Purifier installation in the galaxy. We're not doing this for revenge, she had explained to the public. We're doing this to make sure no other species suffers what we almost suffered. The first campaigns had been swift and successful. Human fleets, now equipped with superior technology, struck Purifier outposts across the galaxy. The quantum disruptor weapons that had saved humanity in the first battle now served as tools of liberation. Captain Kim Haneul commanded one of the new assault fleets. Her ships could travel faster than light in ways the original alien designers had never imagined. Human engineers had improved on captured technology, making it more efficient and more deadly. Target acquired, she reported during an attack on a Purifier mining world. Initiating quantum bombardment. The alien defenses were strong, but they were designed to fight using predictable patterns. Human tactics remained chaotic and unpredictable. Even with advanced technology, the Purifiers still couldn't adapt to humanity's refusal to follow logical battle plans. But the most important discoveries came when human forces liberated alien prisoners. The Purifiers had not destroyed every species they encountered. Some they had kept alive as slaves, using them for labor and research. Admiral Lee Sun-woo would never forget the moment his fleet broke open a Purifier prison world and found 3 different alien species that had been captive for centuries. "Who are you?" asked the lead prisoner, a being that looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird. "We're humans," Admiral Lee replied through translation equipment built from captured Purifier technology. "We're here to free you." The prisoner stared at him in disbelief. "Free us? No one fights the Purifiers. No one wins against them." "We did," said Admiral Lee simply. "The rescued species, the Keth, the Vorthan, and the Zephyrians, were amazed by humanity's victory over their captors. They had given up hope of freedom long ago." "How?" asked the Keth leader. "The Purifiers have the most advanced technology in the galaxy." "Technology isn't everything," explained Captain Kim Haneul. "Sometimes you need to be willing to do crazy things to win." The rescued aliens joined humanity's cause eagerly. They provided information about other Purifier strongholds and helped human forces understand alien psychology. More importantly, they proved that the galaxy could be united against tyranny. As the campaigns continued, humanity discovered the scope of Purifier crimes across the galaxy. Dozens of dead worlds, hundreds of extinct species, thousands of years of systematic destruction. But they also found survivors, small groups of aliens who had escaped destruction and hidden in remote systems, refugees who had been running from the Purifiers for generations. Dr. Kwon Jae-won, now in charge of Alien technology research, made breakthrough after breakthrough by combining human creativity with alien knowledge. The rescued species contributed their own scientific understanding, creating a galactic alliance of unprecedented capability. "We're not just fighting the purifiers anymore," he reported to Admiral Kim Do-yoon. "We're building something new, a coalition of every species that refuses to live in fear." The final campaign began when human scouts located the purifier homeworld. It was a massive fortress planet surrounded by automated defenses that had protected it for millennia. Captain Kim Hanul led the assault fleet of 100,000 ships, humans, Keth, Vorthan, Zephyrians, and dozens of other species that had joined the alliance. It was the largest fleet in galactic history, united by a single purpose, ending the Age of Fear. "All ships, this is Captain Kim Hanul," she broadcast as the fleet approached the purifier homeworld. "Today we finish what Lieutenant Choi Min-ho started 6 years ago with a single signal. Today we turn humanity's greatest mistake into the galaxy's greatest triumph." The battle for the purifier homeworld lasted 3 days. The ancient defenses were powerful, but they had been designed to fight individual species using their own technology. They had never faced a united galaxy fighting with combined knowledge and shared determination. Human quantum disruptors tore through purifier shields. Keth fighters used their natural agility to outmaneuver alien weapons. Vorthan ships provided electronic warfare support that confused enemy targeting systems. Zephyrian vessels carried new weapons designed specifically to counter purifier technology. When the defenses finally fell, the Allied fleet found something unexpected in the ruins of the Purifier Command Center. Not armies of alien soldiers, but a small group of elderly purifiers who seemed almost relieved that their long war was finally over. "We have been trapped by our own fear for 3,000 years, their leader told the Allied forces through translation equipment. "We could not stop killing because we were afraid that if we stopped, someone else would kill us first." Dr. Park. Gina, now an old woman but still working as humanity's chief translator, spoke with the surviving purifiers for hours. What she learned completed the tragic story. "They want to surrender," she reported to Captain Kim Hanul. "Not just surrender. They want to help us make sure this never happens again." The surviving purifiers provided the locations of their remaining automated fleets and defense systems. They helped the Allied forces shut down the last of the killing, machines that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. As the final purifier warships powered down and their crews surrendered, Admiral Kim Do-hyun sent a message across the galaxy. It was broadcast on every frequency, in every language, to every world that could receive it. "This is Admiral Kim Do-hyun of the Terran Defense Fleet, speaking for the Galactic Liberation Alliance. The purifier threat has been ended. The age of fear is over. We invite all species everywhere to join us in building a galaxy where no one needs to be afraid." Dr. Park Gina, working from Earth, added her own message. 6 years ago, a young human officer made a mistake that nearly destroyed our species. Today, that same mistake has saved the galaxy. This is humanity's gift to the stars, the courage to turn catastrophe into hope. Lieutenant Choi Min-ho, now Admiral Choi Min-ho and leader of the new Galactic Defense Force, stood in the same command center where his accidental signal had started everything. The room was filled with representatives from dozens of species, all working together to protect their new alliance. "One signal," he said quietly to himself, looking out at the stars. "One mistake. And look what we built from it." Captain Lee Hyun, visiting Earth for the anniversary celebration, found Admiral Choi in the command center. "Any regrets?" he asked. Admiral Choi smiled. "About the signal?" "Never. If I hadn't sent it, we never would have known about the purifiers. They would have found us eventually, and we wouldn't have been ready.